What differentiates us, what we specialize in is attracting international clientele. So someone who needs a logo, a website, social media setup, ad setup, is a golden egg of a client, really. When I joined, it was 4 people. It's now 17 in total, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. And as of this year, myself and Oksana are now partners in the company. So we're very proud that we truly are part of that tapestry.
Today I'm joined by Oliver Nash, Commercial Director of Manifesto Design. Oliver has had a fascinating journey from professional golf to senior roles in golf operations, and now leading commercial strategy at one of the Costa del Sol's best established creative agencies and working with ARC Architects as a client here in Sotogrande. Oliver, you're very welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Charlie.
It took a while to get you here, didn't it?
It did indeed.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be the right time. We've had some exciting things at Manifesto,
right.
so I'm sure we'll talk about it all. But
okay.
I wanted to wait for the right time.
Right. Well, before we get into Manifesto, tell us about your journey here. I mean, you are as British as they come, but
yes.
you actually very Spanish as well, or from this part of the world. Is that right?
That is true, yeah. Okay, so to cut a very long story short, I am British, from Bristol originally. And then around the age of 11, 12, my parents moved us to Sevilla, okay, which was, a spectacular experience. And I'm very grateful that we did it that way round. I think
a city.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Well, and let's say a real Spanish culture city. Yeah. And then due to schooling, we moved to Marbella, and that is where I have stayed ever since, really. There's been a little bit of backing and throwing, but yeah, Marbella is my home and where those formative years really took place.
So isn't that funny, because Sotogrande, where we are now, is attracting people because of the school. Yeah. And if you went from Sevilla to Marbella, either Sevilla couldn't satisfy what your parents wanted for you,
for sure.
Probably language, I'm not sure, and
that is it.
Yeah,
yes,
and
they had no. Let's say they looked for international school options, and in theory, on paper, there are, but in practice, they weren't. No, okay. And I think one of my first days in the Spanish all-boys Catholic school, which was quite the experience. They were trying to teach me French in Spanish, and I didn't speak French or Spanish, so it was quite the disaster. So yes, Marbella was one of the options, but some of our friends did end up going to Sotogrande from Sevilla, which is very interesting.
Oh wow!
Yes.
Okay, cool. But what you do now is not what you did at the beginning. I gather you hit the little white ball.
I did hit a little white ball, which a lot of people do in Sotogrande. Yes, I was very fortunate to even have the chance to be an aspiring professional golfer. Kind of picked it up when I was 15.
Too late.
Yeah, that's my argument. Yeah. That is the battle you're up against. Yeah. Turned pro at 18, so that was quite quick. And then, the journey began, really. Went to university in the UK to play golf, which my probably grandparents couldn't work out. He's going to university, gets to play golf. Yeah. But an incredible experience. Right. And then just got to the stage, as for many, let's say, sports people or aspiring sports people, you have to make a decision of, is this sustainable? Do I enjoy what, for many outside of football, for many a tennis player or a golf player, do I enjoy this lifestyle of kind of struggling along whilst trying to make it, and that, let's say, that golden pot is at the end. But I did get to the age where I kind of thought, I don't want to continue this for much longer and end up being in my late 20s with no experience of anything else.
And you had a degree to fall back on, did you?
Well, that was very interesting, So what I did find was, when I had the opportunity to move into the golf, let's say, corporate world rather than the golf industry as I was playing, with it being there was a bit of a fascination with, look, we'd love to give you the job, but have you got any
management
education or any education to fall back on that we could really put on the table and say, this is going to help us going to bat for you. It was very beneficial to have a degree, and I think that was very clever of my parents to push me in that direction.
It's what you parents have to do, because all children want to do things which are fun, and more fun.
Of course.
But there is a little bit of hard work to be, you have to do. And
I don't want to give them too much credit.
No, come on.
If they are listening,
it's funny because I had, Charlie Simon.
Yes, correct. Yeah, he was very good.
He was very good.
Very
professional
good.
golfer, and then one day just gave it up because it felt like it. It wasn't giving him the satisfaction.
The first time I fully met him, I actually said, "Look, I remember being 15 and standing on the driving range, watching him practice in Marbella with his bag and his name on the front." So it is very funny how worlds collide. Say 10 years down the line.
Yeah, and in your role as not playing golf but managing golf, what were you doing then?
Okay, so this was interesting. I'll forever be grateful to the guys at Los Arqueros, Antonio, the director. They supported me whilst I was playing and gave me somewhere to practice and play. And then I had that tough conversation with him of, look, thank you so much for your help, but I'm deciding to kind of pack it in and look for other opportunities. And he said, look, we have got something right at the bottom of the ladder. You can come in, work in the golf shop, and my vision is that over time we will get you to that place of golf operations manager. So I said, look, I think let's go for it. You've got to start somewhere. The other option was probably to try Manifesto, but that was all I'd known was golf and playing golf. So to stay in that industry was really important.
So you knew of Manifesto then?
My now fiance was working there. Okay. So Manifesto I've been around it for a while. But yeah, they gave me that opportunity. COVID hit, which was obviously quite interesting. And then quite quickly after COVID, things were changing, and he said, look, I think let's give you the shot at managing the golf operations. And that was a huge learning experience. Probably I would have been 26, and suddenly, let's say the email goes out announcing it, and you look to your left and there's people that have been working there longer than you've been alive. Yeah. And suddenly it's hang on, no, so one of them said, so now you're my boss. That's a big learning curve to how do you deal with it? How do you deal with some conflicts? I'm sure there's things I'd love to have done different or spoken, maybe had these conversations in a slightly different way, but it's all part of the journey, isn't it? Yeah. And what a fantastic...
No, but I mean, being in that and around sports people, you think it's all fun all the time. It's actually a job, even for the guys playing football every week. It's a job. It's a nice job maybe for them because that's what they fell in love with. But it teaches you about pressure. It teaches you about discipline. It teaches you about performance. Yep. All these things. And all of a sudden someone's saying, you've got a target to meet, which is maybe financial, maybe whatever it is. All those things suddenly come on top, and they're for real.
100%.
And guess what? You get a check at the end of the month or not?
No, you don't. Yeah, and that's the difference with golf. There is no salary. And you go and play, and you've got a phone call to make, whether that's to your mum and dad explaining what went well, what went wrong, but then you've got a phone call to a sponsor. And I think that... What I think has served, and I would say to anyone, I would never say to anyone, don't try. You get a lot of bitter people that would say, oh, you're never going to be good enough. That it's 1% of the 1%. Yeah. But what you learn by trying and having to put the 65 hours in of practice a week for no money, really, I think that tells a lot about it, and it has put me in good stead for the future, because I think people really appreciate sports people and they understand the characteristics of a sports person. And if that can be applied to other jobs, then you should be well on your way.
Should be all right. Yeah. Absolutely. The transition from professional sport into business then and marketing was one of
wild, Charlie. It was wild. Because that transition kind of happened to be brutally honest, I looked at the next step on that ladder from golf operations manager would have been the director of the golf course. And he's still considered a very good friend, but I sat and looked at him and thought, it's your job next. I want your job. You're not going anywhere. I don't blame you. And if you do go somewhere, there is zero guarantee that the ownership choose a late 20s kid to run this whole resort. So that was where the journey, like skipping ahead, but the journey into Manifesto began really.
quite right. Well, let's get into that now.
Yeah.
I am a little bit older than you, a lot older than you. And when I was studying international marketing at university in the UK, I just wanted to be a brand manager of something because that's how you did it. And I remember my first general manager, he wasn't our boss's boss probably, but you get to see him. He says, what we do here is spend a lot of money. Half of it works, but I don't know which half. Okay, is that still the case? That in marketing it works? You spend money, but half of it you just can't measure. Is that right? Is that?
I think digital. I think if you said I'm going to put a billboard on the A7, what are how can you tangibly measure that? Okay, how can we? You can understand that the flow of traffic or eyes on it are going to be more in the summer and less in the winter. Realistically, certain positions of that billboard may be round more affluent areas. But that's where it gets a little bit difficult to measure. No?
In London, it didn't. In London, we actually had Nielsen who would be able to tell us that that billboard was worth more than that other one because that were a certain time, certain amount of traffic,
correct.
They'd literally be there.
I understand that, but it's quite hard to measure unless you have, let's say, a QR code or you have some sort of way of understanding. Yeah. How did they come from that billboard? That's where it gets a little bit of a grey area,
and that's half and half.
That's it. So where we are obviously where our specialty lies is the digital marketing side. So the numbers are there in terms of evidence. We do have to hold ourselves. People will see I've spent X amount and I've returned X amount of leads or etc. So you do live and die by the sword. But is it an exact science? Absolutely not. No. And we'll get into why probably one of our core beliefs is setting the expectations so firmly at the start. Right.
Do you do creativity as well?
What we've managed to create, without diving into it and going into a sales pitch, is a team where we specialise in all assets of marketing apart from PR, and each team has its team of specialists. Now, this is really important that I get across. It's not a team of jack of all trades. It's the web developers specialize in web development. They don't get involved with your social media. Right. So we have social media managers, Google Ads specialists, lead generation specialists, web developers, graphic designers. So everything that you would require to grow a brand.
Right. That's the package that you would offer.
Correct.
Yeah. And then leading on to the creativity, as I said, the moment, what I call the silk cut silk moment.
Yeah.
Who gets the ideas? You have that in house as well, or was that
correct? So you would work with the wonderful Oksana, my fiance. There she gets a little shout out. But she would be her and Lucia would be the creative brains behind any sort of campaigns that we run from branding point of view or from a visual element, and then Paul, who is the ad specialist, will come up with the call to actions. How do we get that lovely visual to actually turn into real people contacting? It's fascinating, really.
Sure. I don't know. Yeah. The differentiation you have yourself with other agencies. I mean, I know you're in Jib. I know we have an office in Jib. Correct. I know you're in London as well. Yeah. Do you have is the Costa del Sol the biggest part of the business, or is it more London?
The Costa del Sol would be our head office.
Okay, so
we are me and the partners in the company. We're really proud of that Marbella heritage, to have a brand that has been built for almost 25 years. It's extremely well established, and to have what is a born and bred Marbella agency, for us to have been able to now grow it on the international stage, I take a lot of pride in, considering I would say I am from Marbella. Yeah. What differentiates us, what we specialize in, is attracting international clientele. So our tagline for Gibraltar, for example, is helping Gibraltar businesses access the global market. So if a real estate agency in London approached Manifesto and said, we are solely interested in marketing to the domestic market, I would quite politely and just brutally honestly say, I am sure there are hundreds of agencies that specialize in the domestic market. You're probably better off working with them. But if you want to attract Polish buyers, Hong Kong buyers, which we're doing at the moment, buyers from all around the world, understanding the cultural differences, the languages they talk, how they interact with real estate, that is what we do. And that has been our real unique selling point, is how can we understand an international market and attract those international buyers rather than a domestic agency.
And that has taken time to develop, presumably. It's not something that someone just woke up and said, that's it. I mean, maybe you went away and had an away day and you all thought about how we're going to do this.
Correct.
And you came down to the conclusion that, yes, we will focus on this and be very good at that and be able to sell that to our potential clientele. When I talked about the how it all grew, you said you joined it many years ago. How many years ago was it?
No, so I have been there only, let's say, around 3.5 years. So what happened?
So it's been around longer.
Yeah, far before me. So I'll really briefly run through the history. It was owned by a husband and wife that initially started it up almost those 25 years ago. It was heavily based on content writing, which was the sort of marketing back in the day, especially here. So it was magazines, writing people's newsletters, etc.
And then blogs.
Obviously, the internet came along, and a lot of the little black book of contacts that they had been working with said, look, could you write the content for our new website? So that kind of continued. And then about 8 years in, they took the opportunity and said, look, digital marketing is clearly a big part of the future. We should start to look into this. And then around 6 years ago, it was actually bought by a large British print company called BCP Media Group. They own 2 very well-established print companies in the UK. Incredible what they actually produce, print and packaging. They came in just around COVID time, and my Oksana, she's now been there for around 7 years, and the conversation started. They just moved here with their kids, and said, look, would you like to go out for dinner? That conversation happened, and a few months down the line, the owner said, would you like to join? Would you like to kind of take that jump from golf to marketing? And I'll be honest, I remember sitting there on the first day, having come from having my cafe con leche on the terrace, watching people tee off, to sat in an office thinking, what the hell have I done? Like, I genuinely have no idea why I'm sat here. But the ownership's trust was put in us. I think from the commercial point of view, there's been a real drive to growing it. They've backed that growth. When I joined, it was 4 people. It's now 17 in total, which is incredible. And as of this year, myself and Oksana are now partners in the company. So we're very proud that we truly are part of that tapestry.
Good. Your client base, is it 50-50 real estate and something else, or would it be how would it?
No, it'd be the Costa del Sol wise. It's our main focus.
Real estate.
Yeah, massively. Now, that has always been something that I have kind of battled with. I've always thought, is that eggs in one basket? And should we really push out? And if something goes wrong economically, is it wise to be that reliant on one sector? So we made the decision to acquire another local marketing agency called Peppermint. We did that in March of last year, and they specialize a lot more in hospitality. So it's really broadened our horizons and given us a really good chance to do that organically rather than changing what our already specialist team truly understand. You can't play at real estate marketing. There's a lot of money involved.
It's interesting because when you look at where money is made, obviously on the Costa, okay, it's principally a tourist destination or a second home destination. So people have to live somewhere or rent somewhere. So they buy or rent. They have to go out to hotels or the tourist industry. They have to, go to the chiringuitos, or go to the bars, go to the restaurants, the golf, everything else. So it's that inclined. And if you're out of that sphere, then you really have maybe not such a chunky business that you might want.
That is it, isn't it? You do, without sounding kind of clinical about it, you have to look at the industries that can afford, require what you offer, and then can afford the scale of what is needed. I would love to get more into the golf side of things. I genuinely think golf courses could benefit from improving what they do, without boring anyone, kind of getting into the logistics side of where the clients come from, the reliance on tour operators, and the whole seasonal, high season, low season, that kind of boggles me. The golf course is there, you're still paying for, I know people go on holiday, but you're still paying maintenance, you're still watering it, still cutting the greens. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of directors, and I would argue that potentially, let's say, a lot of them wouldn't get paid for doubling the amount of people on the golf course, but that would double the amount of work, put strain on the workers. So is there an appetite to improve their marketing? But that is definitely an industry I'd love to, because the knowledge is there.
Costa del Sol is a sign you see on the motorway, followed by Costa del Golf.
It's so intertwined.
So intertwined, isn't it?
Massively, yeah. And they do, they've got to be careful. They've got to keep the product. They have to ensure that it still caters for all. Places like Turkey, Portugal, they're not going away. And in a lot of ways they are, where then Turkey, for example, being a modern option, let's say a more recent option for golfers, they are more modern in the way they market.
No, clearly. And I know Sotogrande golf courses very well, and I think they are very different to many of them, in the sense that they're members that own both of the big ones, and then the hotel has the other one. Alto now is coming in. Don't know if you've heard about it or been up there yet, but it's a different formula. It's a hotel resort with a golf course, with now these facilities to be able to have the local people go overnight and just 4 guys go and hit some balls and play some against a track man or whatever they have, and that's good fun, because they have the
it is, because that is what's golf is very much become somewhat inaccessible on the Costa del Sol. Like, it's expensive, and I understand that, let's say we're all very fortunate to work in a world, in an industry, or with people that can afford it, so it's not even a thought. But if you really think about the cost involved of going to play for 4 or 5 hours for 150 euros on a good day, I think that's a lot of money.
It is, and I think it's the Americans that came over that raised all the prices when they started coming here and found it very cheap, because if you go to Pebble Beach, it's $1,000.
Correct.
It's that sort of number, and if you can get on, and you have to book in years in advance almost.
But not everyone's Pebble Beach, not everyone's Valderrama, not everyone's La Reserva, and I think a few of the other ones need to potentially remember that.
Well, they drag the prices up. So
it's demand, isn't it? If people will, they raise the price, and every year when you talk to people, they're still doing record numbers. So who am I to complain?
If they're semi-full, then they're happy. So golf and marketing and real estate. So real estate is your big one. What would you say? This is, don't even thought about this, but in Sotogrande we are very different to Marbella in many, many, many ways.
And you pride yourselves on that distinction.
Yes. And I don't even compare the two. I just say they're very different. And you compare me to La Zagaleta, which is a resort, which is, it's barriered, and Sotogrande. Now, yes, they've got bigger houses, more expensive houses, more sea views, whatever. But they have the golf course, they have the riding club, they have so that's what I compare myself with. But it is different. But the agencies that you see here, what do you work? I mean, I'm one of them, as you know. Yeah. And I came 20 odd years ago, and built it, and got somewhere. But I'm seeing now the big agencies coming this way, and we've just had an away day and planning for the year. And one of the things that came out is that we at Knoll, we're going to be ferociously Sotogrande. Mm-hmm. We're going to be almost anti-corporate.
Okay.
Because I can't compete against a Savills or a Sotheby's or a Berkshire Hathaway on a global basis. That person will always, or if you're sitting in New York or London, you will look at them.
Yeah, the brand is hard to compete with, of course. Yeah.
But it's not even a comparison. I can't compete against them. But once they're here, then it's a very different story, because we are ferociously Sotogrande.
Yeah. And I think that's what you have to kind of live and die by. No?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You are one of the authorities for this area, and I think that is something that when we speak to agencies starting out is something that we really talk about and try to explain, because everyone comes in and normally the conversation is, okay, so what are you going to specialize in, what areas? And they say Fuengirola to Sotogrande, and you go, it's a big stretch of road. And along the way you have giants who dominate each patch. I think it's going to be very hard for somebody to come in and start up, for example, and say, we want to dominate Sotogrande. But if you can find your niche and you can be the authority and have that local knowledge and give them an experience that only a local agency could do, that is not taking them for a coffee in La Reserva, it's taking them for a little coffee. Is it in Pueblo Blanco, where we've just been?
Pueblo Nuevo. Oh, Plaza Blanca.
There we go. Yeah. Taking them for a coffee there. Places that, let's say, a larger brand wouldn't even think about. But you have to truly lean on that local knowledge, because a lot of the time, let's say we've done a lot of marketing where people are trying to gain clients for both, and they think that by getting a lead for La Zagaleta, they'll be able to sell them Sotogrande. And although in terms of the financial profile of that person is similar, they're looking for wildly different things. And unless they've been pre-educated, you're going to spend most of that first conversation educating them on why you're going to take them 35 minutes down the road, when what they were looking for is La Zagaleta. So,
It works the other way around as well.
Of course it does.
They go up there. They know Marbella. They precipitate to Marbella. Yeah. They don't like Marbella for whatever reason. I mean, it's just the plot's very small for a very expensive house, or there's a bit of traffic, or what's going on here, blah blah blah. It's just something more relaxing, and then boom, yes, sort of random, his heads come up, and then you can, then I get the phone call. I've got somebody who's this. The professional guy will give me a full brief of what that person wants. The other one will say, "Can we see that house that I saw on your website?" And say, "Well, you saw it on the website. Can you match the
elaborate?"
And that happens a lot. Yeah. In real estate marketing, what do you think has changed over? I mean, don't say AI just yet. AI will be at the end. But what do you think has changed so much?
Look, we're sat here doing a podcast. Exactly. It's become the trend. Now, there's massive reasons for it. It is so much more welcoming to go, or let's say it's the gates are, I don't know, I'll rephrase that. It's so much easier to get in contact with someone if you've seen their mannerisms, the way they talk. You feel a lot more connected to them. Dramelia is a really good example. I remember when I started out that I'd seen the Artur videos, no? So the first time I walked through that office to talk to them about a project, I felt a bit more like, do you know what, I know you in some sort of way. You might not know me, but that it breaks down barriers. Sure. It's probably the perfect way to describe it. Now, what is vital is do not try to appease your peers with your content. Your content is not so that a Savills watches it and likes it. It's so that someone sat in their home in the UK that wants to learn more, they enjoy it. So when we do speak to people about this trend of doing video, do it true to yourself and with the end user in mind. And I think there's real good evidence of that. A Drumelia is very different to a Cloud9. What you do is very different to a Cloud9. So just be true to who you are would be my biggest one. Yeah.
But and that's video marketing basically,
Correct.
which is I think is, well, I live by it, as you probably know. It's something very important.
Yeah. What have you seen a benefit of it as?
Oh, exactly what you're saying is that, I mean, I have WhatsApps coming in saying, Charlie, I saw something on, and they address me as Charlie, which is fantastic. I saw your thing on, and you interviewed, Mark Elliott on something to do with money, and could you give me his number because I wanted to, and that. Vice versa, I get a call from Fluent Finance only yesterday from them saying, look, some guy said they saw Charlie's podcast on it. You were on it. Can I sort out my money before I go and call him to do look for a property?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm talking about the community here in Sotogrande.
Yeah.
I'm not selling houses right now.
No.
Indirectly, maybe.
Correct.
But that's
You're adding
not,
value, aren't you?
But that's not my I'm adding value. I'm demonstrating that I know about what's going on. I bring people on that know about Sotogrande. We can talk about anything from the dentist, the lawyers, the bankers, the other real estate agents I've had on there. Yeah. Yourself, Alfredo, King, on this, and people from Sotogrande, the hotel manager, the golf people, and everyone gets a flavour of it. As they're sitting on their bus in London going to work if they want to. It does help, and that face as well.
Massively.
It's you get a sound of a voice, you get a sound of someone who knows what they're talking about, and I know what I'm talking about because I've been here for so long.
Yeah.
You get to understand where the places are, what the story is about, and just about everything that's going on. Where do I go and buy some screwdriver? Well, you can go to the village ironmonger, or you go down the road 15 minutes and you've got everything. All the big guys are there, and so it's that knowledge that you have and that you put across.
And I think it's look, Alfredo lives by it, talking about the different funnels of that high funnel content, which is your lovely driving around in a Ferrari and showing the lifestyle. But I strongly believe that lower funnel stuff of talking to your Mark Elliott's, etc., and giving genuine value to potential buyers are the videos that will convert in the end. Yeah. Because I know for sure that I always use my parents as an example. My dad would sit and watch you talk for an hour with a mortgage expert, because that is the core valuable information that is required. So it plays into that a little bit. You can do the fun stuff, and you can drive around in a Ferrari all you like, but remember that is very high level and will appease a lot of people. More people will watch that. It might go viral, but that the low funnel stuff is what it has that more chance of converting. AI. Well, I mean, has marketing become easier, harder? It's different. It's very different, and we are in an industry where it's so competitive. And I think I mentioned it earlier about the expectations. So look, you look at lead generation, and Google Ads is one of the staples, as we all know, but it's extremely expensive. Okay. Yeah. And you can have people promise you dream numbers or false expectations, but there's a certain level required, or there's a certain entry fee almost to even be playing the game. No, so what we've seen some genuinely incredible results is with Meta. The barrier to entry is a lot less in terms of what costs. The ROI is incredible, but there are some nuances to it, and the expectations have to be firmly laid out. So lead generation is always changing, and you always have to be on the ball. Look, ChatGPT is changing the way things are searched. I think the likes of SEO, me and Alfredo had a great conversation about it, where I pushed him a little bit, because I do think we are coming to a little bit of a crossroads where your established, let's say, big boys who would be incredibly hard to topple off of Google. We did 65,000 words in written content for an agency just last year, and they're already top of the ranking. So for someone to come along and take them off that pedestal is going to be very difficult. Whereas ChatGPT is changing, it's prompt-based SEO, and I do believe it's going to give everyone a bit of a chance to take those spots. So the established people have to be aware of it.
And I've heard that someone said the SEO is dead. It's now all on AI and how you are prompting the...
Yeah, I think it's going to have to change, isn't it? Yeah. Will there eventually be a different word for it?
Yeah.
Maybe the term SEO changes. Maybe that it evolves. But somebody is going to have to be one of the first results on ChatGPT, aren't they? Someone's always going to have to be where they get that information from.
But it's somewhere I heard on social media someone said you must have your CV up there somewhere. You must have everything else because people are going to do this, and he goes boom.
Yeah.
Who is the best agent I could talk to in Sotogrande with blah, 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 in this sort of speciality, whatever it is. And those names will come up.
Yeah.
And that's going to be probably an individual rather than a company.
Well, that's very true. So there is a lot to be said for personal brand in the world we live in now. And that content they're going to show will be everything from an Instagram post to a video that you did to an article you wrote on LinkedIn. So covering all platforms is vital in the world we live in. I think TikToks are certainly up for discussion. I think a lot of people forget future-proofing. We have genuinely seen it's only one agency that we've had that feedback from, but they've had 2 inquiries through TikTok and one of them went on to buy. And we are not talking about, this is not teenagers. Where I think there potentially is a void currently is maybe in my generation. So I'm not on TikTok. 90% of the team are. But I would say there's more potential of my generation being a little bit of, do I need another social media? I've got my staples.
Reddit's the one.
They're coming out. They tried the Threads one, which was a kind of Instagram version of Twitter or X. So you have to be on the ball. You have to try. The difference is understanding that, or being the type of person that wants to try. They're your tried and tested. There's your staples, your Google, your Meta. But if you want to try things outside the box, then we're more than happy to advise. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it will be outside the box stuff that makes the change, doesn't it? It always does. It's
always
what
something. What keeps me awake at night is: are we always ahead of the curve? Are we always on top of what is changing? It's evolving every day, but it is mine and Oksana's job to ensure that people are keeping up to date with the changes in Instagram, that they are keeping up to date with Google Ads.
Because they do change the
overnight as well. And you've got to be... Normally the US is a great way of gauging what's coming. I think at the moment they're trialling, which would kill something like Zillow, but they're trialling having the property listings on Google, so directly on Google they'll pop up. Now that will be massive, because if you can then pay for your listing to be up, how does that affect portals? I mean, there's a huge talking point, but you got to keep an eye. Got to keep an eye on what's happening, what's changing. But it's all part of the fun, isn't it? It's all part of the fun.
Yeah, it's all part of the fun. But agencies obviously who might be listening to this. The one question I'm sure they're asking me, this guy is expensive. What sort of budget does someone have to? As an agent, would I say I need to spend 5,000 to 10,000 a month on my marketing? Is that going to give me a blip, or is that going to be between the agency, between the creativity, between the actual?
No, that's a realistic range for if you were looking at having your ads managed your support for social media. You could probably have content creation included in that. 5 to 10, you'd also be able to include your budget that you're spending on these platforms also. But I wouldn't discount, of course there's a minimum that we work with, purely from the fact as well, we have to protect against, if we don't believe that is enough investment to work, it's going to reflect very badly on us. And something I probably wanted to mention was, I think sometimes we pride ourselves on being not brutally honest, but very honest, to the point of, I think sometimes it is to our detriment, because people want to hear that I'll give you the money and I'm going to sell a 20 million euro villa and I'm going to be a millionaire. But I just wanted to probably make it clear that you have to be realistic about what's involved. There is no divine right that you employ a marketing agency, sit back, and for 500 euros a month you're going to go and sell a 6 million euro villa. It doesn't work like that.
Of course not.
But you'd be surprised. That's probably at least one a week. Contact me and believe that is the way. But we would not discriminate against any budgets. We will give you a fair and honest evaluation. And we will always say, it doesn't matter if you have 5,000, if you have 2,000, if you have 25,000 a month, I could hand on heart guarantee we will not start you on that budget. The budget would be, if you had 20,000, it's probably half. And let's do the trial, let's do the testing, let's do the A/B
and
testing.
Build it up.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's a lot easier for us to come to you and push the budget when you've seen the results and got the confidence in it. Now, are you going to get those results within 2 months? It happens, of course it does. But we will also be honest and say, look, let's get to 6 months and review this. So ensure that when we ask you what your budget is, you can sustain this, because
when you deliver for an agency, do you deliver the lead?
Correct. That's where we step out.
Because after that, you might have a really bad salesman who blows it.
And this is, let's say, this is probably one of the marketing agency's world gripes. No, our job is to deliver you the highest quality. We don't work on quantity. The highest quality leads possible. Is everyone going to buy? Don't be ridiculous. That's just not the way the world works. But all we can control is that. We had a case, a Ukrainian buyer, Ukrainian client, went, not interested, we were told, wasn't a very good lead. Okay, they went with a Russian agent turned up to show them the house. Has that played a role? I don't know. But all we can physically handle is setting you up, creating the ad and launching it and managing it to the best of our ability to generate you the highest quality leads. And that will be by advising on what's going on in the world. But it's a collaboration. And I'd like to think, if I look at our churn rate as an agency, most of our clients stay for well over the 2-year mark, which I think says a lot. And that comes down to, when we sign that letter of engagement, it's a partnership. We want to hear the bad, the good. We want to hear, and that varies. Some agents say we wouldn't. We're 2 years in and we don't know if you've sold anything, because they don't really. They're happy. They get their monthly report. They say, great, continue with what you're doing. There's other ones that we will know the name of the lead and we'll be able to match it with what we saw come through, and we'll talk about where they came from, what they were looking for. Did they convert through Google? But in your conversations with them, sometimes they say, I actually saw you on social media first. Exactly. So I think the attribution is always a little bit of a lovely word and a difficult one, because not always does social media get the attribution that it deserves.
When you it's changing a little bit.
Of course,
Take it back to Sotogrande.
Yes.
When you're sitting over there and agents talk to you, your clients, and I don't know your clients. I can go into your website and find out probably. But when Sotogrande comes up, are people targeting Sotogrande? I mean, we, for example, have Marbella as a keyword. We have to have Marbella as a keyword. We have to have Costa del Sol. We have to have the keywords that we use. Is Sotogrande a significant name, even though it's down the road, and we really have to go down there, and it's that sort of attitude?
We would advise to not target it unless you are genuinely looking to sell in Sotogrande. So what I'm trying to get at is, a lot of agencies would say to use Sotogrande, and we do see that more than ever it's a keyword that is one, costing a lot of money, but being targeted. But where it comes to that quality that I'm talking about, there is no point us generating you a lead for a Sotogrande client if you're trying to sell something in Cala de Mijas.
If you don't have the inventory, basically.
If you don't have the inventory, a presence, a knowledge, and this is where that collaboration comes in, of talking and saying, look, you are incredibly good at the Mijas area. What we don't want to do is spend your money on bidding for leads that realistically probably have a higher or a lesser chance of converting, because you're going to get them, you're going to speak to them, and they may not be as convinced as if they came to a non-Sotogrande and have gone, right, I've contacted 2 agencies, because we know they are speaking to multiple. I've spoke to them, they've got an office here, they've got a presence here, they know Sotogrande like the back of their hand, and then you're competing with them, and your dominant area is Las Chapas. So that's a very long-winded. But yes, Sotogrande is definitely a keyword that is very much on people's radars. But in the honor of looking after people's budgets and trying to niche it down as much as possible, unless you dominate or have a presence all along the coast, or you are nearby, if you're an Alcadesa, or if you're a Manilva to a certain extent, where your product could attract people looking to live on the fringes, then yes, it's worth it. But we would advise against somebody that is simply trying to attract high-level buyers but have no real intention of selling Sotogrande to consider using such a expensive keyword in there. It's a politician's answer, but
how would you define the difference between the two, Marbella generally and Sotogrande?
I would say Sotogrande is quiet luxury, or understated luxury. If you come here and you drive around the streets, there's the palm trees. It feels very California-esque, right? People are out running, walking along the streets with their kids. It's always very quiet, which is incredible, even in the summer months. But when I mean quiet, I mean it doesn't feel in your face and stressful as such. I would, I'm putting my head on the chopping block, I would somewhat say it potentially borders on, it's definitely a very tight-knit community. And I would say that you could feel somewhat of an outsider if you don't live in Sotogrande. I think it would take some integrating.
I think that's changed. That's changed.
Well, that's good,
because you had the vast majority was British and Spanish. And that's, now we have 55 different nationalities at the school. So it's changing quite dramatically. But I understand what you mean. There are certain people that have homes on the Costa side that don't recognize Alto as Sotogrande. So they're the original family. I'm being talking about third, second generation. Even more now of people that consider this something different to what the rest of the world might look at it, when they're looking inside. So yeah, it's understated luxury, but it's if you define luxury today, it could be quietness.
Yeah, I think the more that we are in this digital world, the more that it's non-stop noise. You've got one on, but I refuse an Apple Watch. Yeah. I just think someone once upon a time made a watch to only tell the time, and they sat there and they made it with one core purpose. No. I don't need to be getting phone calls on my watch as well as in my pocket. But so you come here and it is an escape.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're surrounded by some incredible people that own these houses. Like you're brushing, if you can get into that community. I'd imagine you're sat in that Trocadero on the beach and surrounded by some incredible people. Yeah,
sure. Let's move on to AI. Yeah. What's your overall feeling about AI and how quickly it's going to impact your business and even the real estate business, if you have a view on that?
It's here and it's not going anywhere. That's ever apparent. I would say be careful to not fall into the whole FOMO. We probably fell. Look, it's here to stay. There's no doubt about that. I think just be a little bit careful of not using it for the sake of using it as such. We have tested and tried things. AI agents, for example, was something that I really thought.
A chatbot thing.
Yeah, but autonomous ones. So not ones that you'd go through the logic and the answers are kind of preset. Ones that genuinely reply to you and over time accrue their own knowledge. Okay, and I must admit I got a bit of a taste for it. I thought, wow, this is brilliant because it could help with the likes of meta lead generation. So that the agent has a bit of a report before it gets to them, and it gets rid of all the to and fro-in of they're not replying, etc. But how much time, someone sat me down and said, how much time does that save you? Okay, so if a lead comes into Manifesto and the AI bot talks to them, how much time does that save you personally versus the damage to the brand?
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, do you know what? He's got a point. Like, it's not taking me much time to genuinely give a personal approach and make decisions based on what they're saying, because a great example is the AI bot. The reason to have it is that it pre-qualifies people, so that somebody who in theory on paper may not require our services or may be looking for something we don't offer, it weeds that out. The problem was it couldn't initially distinguish between a startup and being able to afford our services. So someone who needs a logo, a website, social media setup, ad setup, is a golden egg of a client, really. Yet it actually in our testing said, I don't think you're right for Manifesto. So there's a little journey into what we've discovered by it. But I recently saw something really interesting and I listened to it, and it said there's an example of it that a 5-star hotel had one of these, let's say, business development companies come in and say, look at the efficiency and what could they replace with technology. Okay, and they looked at the doorman that stood outside of the 5-star hotel and said, look, he's on 30 to 40,000 a year here. What we could do is we'll just automate the doors. Okay, and
I know what you're saying.
And what happened is over the time it lost its appeal. It didn't get the right clients anymore. The 5-star started to fall. And that's because they were looking at the efficiency and the cost rather than the genuine human impact that guy has of the way he makes people feel, the fact that he keeps people off from sleeping in the hallway. He opens the door, he hails you a taxi. And I think that is probably my real thought on it of, look, it's coming, it's inevitable. There are some incredible things, and we are really priding ourselves on keeping up to date with it. It's going to change things. And I do think eventually a personal touch will mean even more. And it can do a lot of stuff that, people that maybe don't have much ambition and they just want the day-to-day admin tasks. Unfortunately, it could do that, okay? But what an office manager, a receptionist offers for a brand is incredible. How they make them feel, their first initial impact.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of ads, we see it more than ever. Look, Meta are hugely pushing for their own AI to be able to generate you the ad, tell you the target audience, everything. And that's something that we really have to keep an eye on, because you can press a button and they'll make the decision for you and show it to whoever. That's something that is clearly on the radar. But there's a lot to be said for without talking about his age, there's a lot to be said for the years of knowledge and understanding of economic impacts over the past 25 years that Paul has, who sets up the ads. But look into it.
I totally understand. I think that story is a Rory Sutherland one.
That's it. Yeah. That is it. Yeah. Rory Sutherland.
Rory Sutherland. And we listen to the same podcast.
Yeah.
he's very.
He tells the same stories.
Yeah, he does. He does.
But he's
very
fascinating.
Good. He's very good. No, AI is here to stay. We had a chatbot. We took it off because it didn't really save me much time.
That's it.
And I'd rather talk to the person if they were there. Yeah. And they're agencies and agencies. If I get a certain number of leads, I'm more than happy. I can't cope with more necessarily. It's one of those things. That,
what is your business model, isn't it? That's what it comes down to. If there are now marketing agencies that are 2 people and AI automated, and that's fantastic. But I think a lot of people, when it comes to putting the budgets that they require in place, want to look at the people across from them. Also, if I see another person use ChatGPT to write a LinkedIn post, it's a lost form. It's a lost art to genuinely give and to, do you know what, a little spelling mistake, a little typo, I think is fantastic. It shows that you were thinking about it when you wrote it. And maybe this is maybe I'm an old romantic at 30, but use it, but understand that people appreciate your thoughts. I don't need to read another bullet pointed opinion.
So, okay, good, fantastic. Let's some other funny stuff. What's your current golf handicap?
0 on the nose. I'm back to being an amateur, enjoying it. So yes.
What's your favorite course on the Costa del Sol?
That is it's a little. Well, it's not a hidden gem anymore. It's called Santana in Mijas.
I've heard of
honestly,
Santana.
Fantastic.
I've heard of that.
In my opinion, I mean, maybe I've called it on a good day, but it's absolutely brilliant. But you're spoilt for choice in Sotogrande, that is for sure.
Favorite place to switch off?
Favorite place to switch off? This is not a bad one. We come up here, we'll get in the car, even if it's on a late evening in the summer. It could be, 7, 8 o'clock after work, and we say, look, should we just drive to Sotogrande and just come and get, and get a drink, walk around. Everyone lets you be. I mean, I'm talking as if I'm David Beckham, but nobody's coming up to me. But it feels like a little bit of paradise.
One marketing myth you'd like to kill forever?
Stop chasing the viral content if what you do is niche. So having 20,000 people in Taiwan watch your reel on the 5 best coffee shops in Marbella is vanity metrics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oliver, thank you very much.
Charlie, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and keep doing what you're doing.
I will do. There you go, ladies and gentlemen who can see me and those who can hear me. Oliver Nash, great man. He is available if you want to talk to him about marketing in Marbella and up and down the coast. Bye-bye.